2-year appointment, and so that it coincides with the building commissioner job and the zoning officer job. And I would urge people not to look at names and faces, but address this as a position to be appointed. So, without making it a personal anything, it seems from a business standpoint, that seems to make more sense. But that's a going forward issue. Okay, and the last one, this, I actually asked to have this thing put in there because I was given some surprising news recently that one of our neighboring towns, which will remain nameless, has members of their Board of Selectmen that do not live in that particular town. And I said I was surprised to hear that because I'd always been told, I never researched it, but I always was told that the select board people needed to, you know, elected officials needed to live in town. Turns out there is no such state law, according to the state. And we have no such bylaw in the town of Brimfield to mandate that. So in what is simply a housekeeping method, I think to add that just simply says elected officials should be, you know, primary residents should be in the town of Brimfield. Appointed officials, that's a different story altogether. So those seem like three pretty simple things to go through. So,
so the one, well, an article, you're talking about Article 21?
Yes.
Right. So in Article 21, if you talk to the town clerk, she says you have to be a resident in town. Your residency has to double check with her.
Yeah, I did go through all the bylaws and it was not there. Now, I know that she has said that I've asked that. It just seems to me that this is a good housekeeping article to have on there because if somebody comes back and says, well, you know, that doesn't have to be, and we end up in some kind of a legal challenge about it, I don't want to be spending thousands of dollars to defend that. So it's a simple enough thing to simply say, if you hold an elected position, you gotta live in Brimfield. So that's the purpose of that.
Right. Your primary residence.
Right.
You don't have to live in Brimfield, but your primary residence has to be in Brimfield. Those are two different things.
Okay.
Those are two separate things.
All right, then are you amending that to say you have to live in Brimfield?
No, I'm saying your primary residency, just, you said the word live. I'm just saying, we gotta be clear here. You can have a primary residence in Brimfield and not live in Brimfield.
Okay. All right.
We have, I know of several residents that this is their primary residency. They're, you know, I mean, their vehicles are registered here, their voting is here, they're a mass, you know, they carry a mass ID. That's their town. They don't necessarily live in town, right? So it's just, yeah, don't say live. It just has to be their primary residency.
All right, then, seeing as how I brought the thing in, I would make a motion to, or amend that to say you have to live in the town of Brimfield. Because I think that was the intent of doing that, in the interest of not, like I said, getting into bigger issues.
So before we do that, you get a clear town clerk, because Deb says there is a state law that you have to, this has to be your primary residency.
Okay.
You know, you're opening up a can of worms by saying live.
No, you can make it,
I'm just,
but according to the way state laws and local laws work, is you can make issues more restrictive, but you can't make them less. So for example, if the state says you've got to have primary residence here, you can't take a vote that says you don't have to live here. But if it says your primary residence, it can be made more restrictive by saying you have to live here. So, the board would get a chance to make a decision on that. I'll make that as a motion to change that from primary residence to live in the town of Brimfield.
so all your snowbirds, for example, for all the residents in town, this is their primary residency, but they live in Florida 8 months out of the year. But, you know, that's different.
I think the wording.
Primary is pretty clear. Right, they wouldn't be able to vote here. These residents would not be able to vote here. If you're saying that they live in town, right? Are you saying they have to actually live in town?
Yeah.
Physically. They can't live somewhere else 6 months out of the year.
I don't think, well.
Primary residency is just that. It's you're registered to vote in this town. This is my primary residency, for example. This is your primary residence. This is where you live. If you go 6 months down to Florida, this is still your primary residency. Okay, so when you go to vote, you don't vote in Florida because you have a property there, you're voting in car is registered in Brimfield, your license is Massachusetts, this is your primary residence. Not, where you live is different, where you lay your head is totally different.
So
And
that.
again, there are several field owners I know of just that too. I think this becomes, like I said, there are a lot of residents that are primary, that this is their primary residency, but they spend more time in their other properties, especially during the winter months. You know, October to, you know, I say March or April. You know, just go to the church, you'll see. The church gets more busier than April.
I think we're all on the same page.
Right.
We're just getting caught up on the wording.
Right.
And I don't.
I'm okay with primary, I mean, because that's what it is. And that's exactly how, you know, when I saw that on the agenda, that's why I asked the town clerk what that's about, because what change are we making? And she was clear, your primary residency is just that. It's basically where you're registered to vote. That's your primary.
Well,
Doesn't matter, you know what I mean? Doesn't, again, that's where, this is your primary residency. This is where you pay your taxes. This is where you know, all of that is in your town that your primary residency is.
okay. So I don't have a second on that. How about a motion just to accept it, and then we'll let the town floor make a decision. If they want to change it, they can change it on the town floor.
That's fine.
You know, so if I live 6 months here and 6 months in Florida, I have no primary residence. I can't declare either one as
I
primary.
think I'd like to play with the wording before we.
Okay.
Sending this individually, is it?
Oh, they go individual.
Is there any way that we can accept the two above? And
Absolutely.
Just pull that one off and Chris, is that timeline?
Chris had something he wanted to offer.
She wants to table Article 21 and just do.
Go ahead, Chris.
Just, I do want to point out that all of the work of the articles go to town council
Right.
for essentially legal approval, so if we
And
are
to the
putting something in
bylaw
that
committee.
is,
Yeah, and to the bylaw committee.
but if we're putting in something that actually is violating or in conflict with, that will be established by town council.
Yeah. Again, I know it's a play with words, but I.
All right, let's do this then, because I don't want anybody to be uncomfortable with that. Why don't we do the two that we have,
Right.
and we'll delay the next one till the next meeting, and that'll give anybody who has a question an opportunity to.
So just make sure that Article 21 is on the next agenda, right?
Yeah, you know what, if you'd like to make the motion, make it on the two, and we will eliminate the third one from the motion.
So I'd like to, so we'll make a motion for Article 11 and Article 20.
Okay? Do we have-
Let
Go ahead.
Let me second it. Did someone, she motioned it?
Yes, sir.
So let me second, I'll second that.
Okay, go ahead.
Why can't we do these separately?
We can if you want to.
Yeah, I think that's.
All right, do it separately.
All right, so Article, I make a motion to approve Article 11.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Okay. All in favor?
Adam's aye.
So do I.
McGuire, aye.
I don't know why.
Kelly, aye. Okay.
Okay, I make a motion to approve Article 20.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Discussion? So the only thing I have, and again, I agree with what Mr. Kelly has said about, let's take the names and let's take the face audits, and that's exactly what I'm doing. The only thing, I think when we move things, there's more accountability. If we were doing this, if we do this the right way, the 1 year, there's more accountability. You're giving too much away, you're taking power away from the townspeople when you do a 3-year instead of a 1 year. I mean, we've had we've had already, the word I'm looking for here, we have a history of not meeting up with like personnel, with just, and this is evaluations, this is a way of just keeping things checks and balances. I don't see anything wrong with leaving it down to, leaving it to the year and continue moving forward. There's no reason, we need to have checks and balances, and you're taking away power from the people when you do that.
So
Thank you.
would you advise changing all appointed positions to 1 year? For example, conservation's a 3-year appointment. Should those go to 1? Should,
I don't think that's irrelevant, and we're talking about this.
No, I understand, we're talking about this one thing, but your argument is, we're taking the power away from the people, so the people's power would go beyond one.
So again, this is a
position.
bylaw already in place.
Yeah,
So those are already in place bylaws. We're moving forward here, whatever was done, if we can fix moving forward, that's what we do. We're not gonna,
okay.
So let me, if I may add then, to what Mr. Soto's saying. This position is actually a employee, like paid position that reports to the select board for oversight. Not like other departments where you have the fire department or the police department, for example, where when the police department, when the police chief sends in his appointments, those appointments have been vetted by a department head, right? I don't question that. I may, when I see it come in, I'll ask Mr., the Chief Beaudry about it and get some feedback from him. Bottom line is, I have confidence that the police chief, when he puts up those appointments, they've been, vetted and evaluations and all that stuff's happened. Same thing with the fire chief, same thing with the highway department. This position's a little different because we are the governing body. And I think I understand what Mr. Soto's saying is that by taking away that 1 year, making it 3 year, it makes it, difficult, right, for the board to, I don't think there's anything wrong. There's probably a reason why it was 1 year. And just because the select board has not lived into that bylaw for whatever reason, as we really can't find what changes happened, but we know a change did happen, doesn't mean by us changing it fixes that problem. I think we just need to live into it, that's all. It makes sense. Every year you just have, an appointment,
if I may, one more thing. So, and a zoning officer anyone can be a zoning officer. Like, it's not like, so that you can appoint.
But there's two,
It doesn't have to be the building commissioner.
but the way that it's
The way
written.
Yeah, the way it's written here, but I mean, that's what this.
You are
We're
right.
trying to get out of the current situation. That's what Mr. Kelly has asked us to do. So that's what I'm focused on. I respect him saying that. But thank you.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. I'm going to call this thing to a vote. All in favor?
Adams, no.
Soto, no.
McGuire, yes.
Yes.
Kelly, yes. And it should be noted that this is a zoning law, which means it has to go to a public hearing. I've already spoken to the planning board about that. It should also be noted that when it gets to the town floor, it has to win by a 2/3 vote. So it's a long way from being done.
Correct.
Okay?
All right. Thank you for that, Mr. Kelly.
Okay. Next up, we have the Town Hall Annex copier quotes. And I want to just, a quick question on that, because it seems to me we just did that recently. How long ago did we do that? Wasn't it a year ago?
Last year, the board voted to buy the upstairs copier. This is for the lease on the downstairs, which I believe
That's when we first came
was
up.
3 years ago.
3 years.
But
You think it was 3 years? Because I have had somebody, I didn't get a chance to look at this because I got it way too late before, too close to this meeting to have an opportunity to look at it. My understanding is that we may not have completed that lease. So before we take any kind of action on that, let's just make sure that we are on solid ground here. So I'm going to ask to table this until we can verify for sure that that lease has expired. Okay, next up, elementary school playground equipment, sign the permit. I presume, what?
Yay.
I know, I knew you said it. I presume this is the building permit?
This is the building permit that we need the property owner's signature, so that would be this.
Okay, so
The
why don't we,
application, you need, not the actual permit.
Not the
the
application,
application, yeah. So why don't we just make a motion, if we could, to approve the application?
I'll make a motion, we approve the application for the elementary school playground equipment.
Second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Adams, aye.
Soto,
McGuire, yes.
And my yes.
What did you say?
Yes, I was gonna be funny.
Kelly, yes. Where's the signature going?
So second page top,
Right here?
yes.
Yay, one step closer.
We'll see, James, right?
Yeah. Okay, so that's all set. Oh yeah, we gotta sign, the next up is we gotta sign the annual town nonpartisan nominating caucus warrant. Caucus to be held at the Brimfield Elementary School on April 21st, 2025 at 6 p.m. That will be a meeting night for us, so we will convene after the caucus. But if someone would be kind enough to make a motion to authorize that?
I'll make a motion that we approve the 2025 annual town nonpartisan nominating caucus warrant. Caucus to be held at the Brimfield Elementary School on April 21st, 2025 at 6 p.m.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Adams, aye.
So do I.
McGuire, aye.
Randall, aye.
Kelly, aye. Okay, thank you. I believe that's going to require a signature. Okay, while that's being signed, next on the agenda, we have the 2025 special and one-day license for Big Time Bill LLC Brimfield Brew Fest Spring 2025, April 12th, at the New England Motel from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m.
I'll make a motion, we approve the 2025 special one-day liquor license for Big Time Bill LLC, Brimfield Brew Fest, Spring 2025, April 12th, 2025, at the New England Motel from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m.
Second.
Anybody have questions?
Do they have everything paid up? That's
Yeah.
it?
Okay, all in favor?
Adams, aye.
So do I.
McGuire, aye.
Randall, aye.
Kelly, aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, have fun. And at this stage in the game, we are coming up to antique show licensing. As one of the owners, the appearance of my having a conflict necessitates that I leave. So I'm going to turn this over to the vice chair, who will finish that and end the meeting, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you all very much for coming. Appreciate it. Okay, thank you.
Let's go.
What's that?
Let's go, Rob.
All right, up next, we have the 2025 annual flea market owner operator license for Grand Trunk Antiques and Black Swan Acres. You want to do them separately or
Together.
Together.
I'll make a motion, we approve the 2025 annual flea market owner operators licenses for Grand Trunk Antiques and Black Swan Acres.
Second.
Any discussion?
They're all set with their
Taxes and stuff.
All in favor?
Adams, aye.
So do I.
McGuire, aye.
Randall, aye.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Adams, aye.
So do I.
McGuire, aye.
Randall, aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
got-
We need some signatures here?
You guys.
Yeah.